Emma and Lucas had once been inseparable. As children, they spent endless summer days exploring the woods near their home, whispering secrets only siblings could share. Their bond seemed unbreakable, until tragedy struck suddenly in a car accident. Grief turned into tension, and tension soon erupted into full-blown conflict. The source of their rift was the family inheritance. Emma felt Lucas was being unfair, claiming more than his share, while Lucas believed Emma was acting out of pure greed. Harsh words were exchanged, each conversation cutting deeper than the last. The pain of loss was compounded by betrayal, or at least the feeling of it. What had once been love and trust was replaced by anger and bitterness. Months passed and neither sibling reached out. Holidays came and friends and extended family tried to intervene, but both Emma and Lucas were too stubborn, too hurt to listen. The bond that had once been the core of their lives now seemed irreparably broken. In the quiet of their separate lives, both wondered, how did it come to this? But pride kept them from seeking answers, and so the silence stretched on. Years slipped by, and Emma and Lucas drifted further apart, not just emotionally, but geographically too. Emma moved to a bustling city, pouring her energy into her career as a teacher. She built a new circle of friends and tried her best to bury the heartache of her fractured family. On the surface, her life seemed full, but quiet moments often brought waves of loneliness and regret. Lucas stayed in their hometown, taking over the family business. Though outwardly successful, he carried his own silent burden. Driving past familiar places, like the park where they once played, or the old family home, stirred painful memories. He often wondered if Emma thought of him at all, but his stubborn pride stopped him from reaching out. Despite their separate paths, both felt an emptiness they couldn't quite explain. They had filled their days with work and distractions, but the absence of their sibling left a hollow space that no one else could fill. Beneath the anger, beneath the silence, there still flickered the faintest hope that someday things might change. For now, though, Emma and Lucas remained strangers. Linked by blood but divided by wounds neither was ready to heal. It was an ordinary Thursday afternoon when Emma's phone rang, a call that would change everything. The voice on the other end belonged to a mutual friend from their hometown, and the news hit Emma like a punch to the chest. Lucas had been diagnosed with a serious heart condition and was facing immediate surgery. For a moment, Emma couldn't speak. All the years of anger and silence seemed to crumble in an instant, replaced by a flood of worry and fear. Memories of Lucas, her brother, her childhood companion, rushed back with painful clarity. Though they hadn't spoken in years, the thought of losing him was unbearable. That night, Emma lay awake staring at the ceiling. Questions swirled in her mind. Did Lucas want to hear from her? Would he even accept her help? But beneath her doubts, one thing became clear. This was bigger than pride, bigger than past mistakes. Family was family, no matter how broken. Determined, Emma picked up her phone and typed out a message. They just heard the news. I'm so sorry. If you need anything, I'm here. She hesitated before pressing send, but deep down she knew this was the first fragile step towards something they had both needed for far too long. Lucas stared at Emma's message for a long time, his emotions tangled in a web of surprise, anger, and something he hadn't felt in years: relief. Part of him wanted to ignore it, to hold on to the grudge that had defined their relationship for so long. But another part, the part that remembered their bond before everything fell apart, knew he couldn't push her away this time. After hours of hesitation, Lucas replied with a simple, "Thank you. I don't know what to say." That was all it took to crack open the door. Emma responded almost immediately, asking how he was feeling and offering to visit if he was comfortable with it. Their conversation was brief and cautious, each word carefully chosen to avoid reopening old wounds. Yet beneath the awkwardness was something fragile but unmistakable: a desire to reconnect. A few days later, Emma made the trip back to their hometown. As she sat in the hospital's waiting room, nerves twisted in her stomach. When Lucas finally appeared, looking pale and tired, they locked eyes for the first time in years. No words came at first, just a long, heavy silence. Then quietly, Lucas said, "I didn't think you'd come." Emma's eyes welled with tears. "Neither did I, but I'm glad I did." And in that small, uncertain moment, the first step toward healing was taken. In the days that followed, Emma visited Lucas regularly at the hospital. Their conversations at first were light, talking about the weather, Lucas's treatments, and everyday things. But both knew that beneath the surface lay years of unspoken pain waiting to be addressed. One quiet afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the hospital window, Lucas finally broke the silence. "Emma, I've thought about that fight 1,000 times. I was so angry, but I didn't handle things right." Emma looked down, her heart heavy. "Neither did I. I let my pride get in the way. I missed you, but I didn't know how to fix it." Their words tumbled out, raw and honest, as they revisited the hurtful moments that had torn them apart. Tears were shed and voices trembled, but this time, instead of shutting each other out, they listened. They acknowledged the misunderstandings, the pride, and the grief that had fueled their long-standing feud. It wasn't easy. Old wounds reopened, and emotions ran high. But with every painful memory shared, a weight seemed to lift, little by little. For the first time in years, Emma and Lucas weren't just siblings in name. They were two broken people, finally brave enough to face their past together. And though they knew healing wouldn't happen overnight, they also knew they had taken a vital step. They had begun to forgive. With each passing day, Emma and Lucas found themselves growing closer in ways they hadn't expected. The hurt was still there, lingering like an old scar, but their willingness to mend what was broken gave space for something new to blossom. Emma started bringing Lucas his favorite snacks from childhood, little things that made him smile despite his condition. Lucas, in return, surprised Emma by digging out old photo albums from his hospital drawer, showing her pictures she hadn't seen in years. Together they laughed over silly memories and mourned the bittersweet ones, their bond slowly stitching itself back together. Emma helped Lucas with small tasks, fluffing his pillows, reading aloud when he was too tired, simply sitting beside him in silence when no words were needed. And Lucas, once guarded and distant, began to open his heart again, expressing gratitude and even vulnerability he'd kept hidden for too long. These small, seemingly simple acts, sharing meals, quiet conversations, warm hugs, became the quiet glue that rebuilt their trust. Every gesture, every word of kindness was a brick laid on the path to forgiveness and healing. What had once seemed impossible, a restoration of their relationship, slowly but surely grace was making its way back into their lives, one small act at a time. As weeks turned into months, Emma and Lucas settled into a new rhythm, one built on openness, patience, and genuine care. Their relationship, once shattered, now felt like something entirely different. Not a return to the past, but the creation of something stronger and deeper. Lucas's health remained fragile, but instead of focusing on fear, they focused on making the most of their time together. They went for slow walks around the hospital garden, reminiscing about their childhood and dreaming about the future, even if it was uncertain. Each shared moment became a treasure, a testament to their renewed commitment as siblings. Emma noticed how Lucas's eyes softened when he looked at her now, no longer clouded by resentment but filled with appreciation. Likewise, Lucas felt a deep gratitude for Emma's unwavering presence, a gift he no longer took for granted. One evening, as they watched the sunset from Lucas's hospital window, he turned to Emma and said quietly, "I don't know how much time I have left, but I'm thankful we found our way back to each other." Tears welled in Emma's eyes and she squeezed his hand. "So am I. No matter what happens, we've made things right." Their bond, once fractured by bitterness, had been reforged through honesty, forgiveness, and love. A bond that no hardship could ever break again. Months later, as Lucas's health stabilized and he prepared to return home, both siblings felt a quiet sense of victory. Their journey had been long and painful, marked by years of silence and misunderstanding, but they had finally crossed the bridge from hatred to healing. At Lucas's farewell party in the hospital, close friends and relatives gathered, many of whom had watched from the sidelines as the siblings' relationship unraveled. Now they saw something entirely different. Emma and Lucas standing side by side, supporting each other with an ease that hadn't been seen in years. In a quiet moment, Emma reflected on all they had endured. She realized that healing wasn't about erasing the past, it was about learning from it, allowing the pain to shape something stronger and more compassionate. Their story was living proof that even the deepest wounds could heal with patience, humility, and love. Lucas echoed that sentiment in a simple toast: to forgiveness, to family, and to second chances. As they clinked their glasses, Emma and Lucas knew that their journey wasn't over. It was only just beginning. The past would always be a part of them, but it no longer defined them. What mattered now was the future they were building together, one filled with hope, grace, and the unbreakable bond of siblings who had found their way back to each other. If you enjoyed this heartfelt story, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll never miss the next part of this journey or other powerful stories about family, forgiveness, and healing. Hit the notification bell to stay updated with all our latest videos as soon as they're released. Your support helps us keep sharing inspiring content that touches the heart and reminds us all of the strength of love and reconciliation. Join our growing community today. We can't wait to bring you more amazing stories.